Okay, you are not going to believe this. I was talking to my friend Alex the other day, and they described their job as being a digital janitor. And I was like, a what now? And they said, Lena, I spend half my day just moving files around. I take a thing from this folder, drag it to that one, download an attachment, rename it, upload it to the drive. It literally never ends. We were laughing, but let's be real. It's kind of painfully true for a lot of us, right?
It's painfully true. And that's exactly where the entire game is about to change. We've all gotten so used to AI as the super smart, kind of charming chat partner. You ask it things, it gives you answers. But what if it could stop talking about the work and, actually do the work? This is the massive shift we're seeing. We're moving from chat to cowork. It's not about getting answers anymore. It's about getting deliverables. Because this new breed of AI, it works directly on your files.
And listen, this is not just some small update. The people who built this are calling it the agentic shift, which is, I know, a pretty fancy way of saying the AI is becoming an agent that can actually act on your behalf. We are moving from just having a conversation to real execution. This thing is designed from the ground up to do stuff.
Exactly. I love this way of thinking about it. A normal chatbot can give you a recipe for a chocolate cake, right? It'll list the ingredients, give you step-by-step instructions. It might even write you a beautiful poem about cocoa. But an agentic AI, it goes into your kitchen, grabs the flour and eggs, preheats your actual oven, and bakes the cake for you. You just walk in and find a finished dessert. And maybe it even cleans the dishes. Okay, fine, maybe not the dishes, yet.
Which brings us right back to our friend Alex and their whole digital janitor crisis. That chaotic desktop, that downloads folder that's basically a digital graveyard, that is the absolute perfect place to start. This is where an AI coworker proves its worth right away, by tackling that digital mess we all pretend isn't there.
So how do you actually put this thing to work? It all comes down to this really simple 5-step loop. First, you define the task. Then the AI actually shows you its plan, which you get to review. You give it the thumbs up and it executes. But here's the real game changer. Step 4, you can steer it mid-task. If it's going a little off the rails, you can just jump in and nudge it back on course without having to scrap the whole thing and start over.
Oh, wow. I wish I could steer my friend's questionable life choices mid-task. No, we're not going to text the ex. Let's redirect that energy into organizing my shoe collection instead. So much more productive.
Well, you can finally do it with your files. This right here is basically the magic wand command that Alex used. And look, it's just plain English. You just describe the final state you want that messy folder to be in, and the AI, it just does it. Months, maybe years of digital clutter, all sorted in minutes while you go grab a coffee. And that's the key. The skill isn't about writing some clever, tricky prompt anymore. It's about being really clear in defining a task. Okay, but look, cleaning up one folder is one thing. My work life is a complete and total train wreck spread across like a dozen different apps. I've got things in Google Drive, Slack, my email, Salesforce. How is one AI coworker supposed to keep up with all of that chaos? It keeps up with something called connectors. Just think of them as secure little handshakes between your AI and all the apps you already use every day. And what's so smart about this is that you don't need to connect everything at once. This starting stack right here covers the core of what most of us do, and it connects the right way using the official structured APIs. I love this. It's like you're finally assembling your work dream team. You've got your documents expert, your email guru, your sales genius, and they all report to the same manager. Finally, an org chart that actually makes sense and is totally drama-free.
And it's a very smart team. See, the AI coworker has this priority system, a sort of pecking order for how it gets things done. It will always try to use that official connector API first because it's the fastest and most reliable way. If that's not an option, it can actually just use the app's website directly in your browser. And only as a last resort, if all else fails, will it fall back to literally using your mouse and keyboard, just like a person would.
It's like having a really good assistant who just gets it. They know when to send a formal, structured email versus when it's faster to just lean over, grab your mouse, and say, here, let me just show you. So much more efficient. And probably better looking, too.
So we've seen how it can handle these one-off tasks. But the real magic, the real power, comes when you move from single cleanups to full-on automation. This is where Alex's life really changed. It wasn't just the one-time cleanup. It was getting rid of those soul-crushing, recurring tasks. Like that weekly report you have to piece together every single Friday afternoon. Or the Monday morning inbox dread. That feeling when you open your email and see a whole weekend's worth of chaos just staring back at you, and you have to sort through it all before you can even think about starting your actual week. It's the absolute worst.
Exactly. So imagine this. You set up a scheduled task one time, just once, like this morning email digest. You tell it to run every weekday morning at 7 a.m. It goes into your email, categorizes everything, and even drafts replies for the urgent stuff. By the time you sit down at your desk with your coffee, a neat little summary is just waiting for you. You set it up once, and it runs forever. It's the gift that keeps on giving. All right, there is one tiny little catch, and it's an important one. Because this AI coworker is running on your computer, not somewhere in the cloud, your machine needs to be awake, and the app has to be open for these scheduled tasks to actually run. So you can't let your hot new AI coworker fall asleep on the job. But hey, it's a tiny price to pay for getting your mornings back. So, if you think about it, Alex's whole day is completely transformed. Instead of being a digital janitor spending all those hours just moving files and compiling reports, they're now a strategist. They oversee the work, they steer the AI when they need to, and they get to focus on the parts of their job that actually require a human brain and, human judgment. And this really brings us to the most important takeaway from all of this. The skill that we've all been practicing, prompt engineering, trying to trick a chatbot into giving us that perfect answer, that's becoming way less important. Right. It's all about clear task specification. You're not a prompter anymore. You're a manager. Your job is to define the outcome you want clearly and concisely. You specify the what and the why, and you let your new coworker figure out the how. So you really have to change how you think about it. This tool isn't just an assistant that you delegate tiny little things to. The whole relationship is evolving into something much, much more collaborative. It's your coworker. And let's be honest, it might just be the best one you've ever had. It doesn't steal your yogurt from the fridge, it doesn't talk loudly on its phone, and it actively wants to do the most boring parts of your job. Seriously, what's not to love? Which leaves all of us with one final, pretty big question to think about.
If your AI can do all the tedious manual work, what work are you meant to do? It's something we're all going to be figuring out. Thanks for joining us.